Now we're going to use Tinkercad to customize some finger braces that we download from Thingiverse. On the class LibGuide, under the 3D Printing and Occupational Therapy tab, scroll down and click on Thingiverse Splints. Then scroll down until you see this pair of finger splints. Then click to select, and we'll scroll down again until we see the Files tab. Click on Files, and we're going to download all three of these. So click to download the first one, and the second one, and the third one. Now if we look in our Downloads folder, we can see that all three of the finger splints have been downloaded. Next, on the class page, we'll click on Tinkercad to go to Tinkercad, log into your account, then click on Designs, click Create, and click 3D Design. I'll start by changing the name of the design, then click Import, choose File, pick the first finger splint, and click Import. Once it's imported, we'll click on it and drag it over to the side. Then click Import, choose File, select the next splint, click and drag it over to the side, click Import, choose File, and the third finger splint. Upload, import. The program automatically assigns different colors to different models, but for ease of viewing, I'm going to turn these all the same color. Let's say this color. Okay, to rotate the work plane, I'm going to hold down the Control key on my keyboard and tap and drag on my touchpad. I'm using a MacBook laptop. All right, I'll look at these from the top. Actually, I'm going to switch to orthographic view, so I'm looking straight down, and then I'll tap top to make sure that I'm looking straight down. So let's say, for argument's sake, that this splint is too large. We like the design, but it's just too big. So if I click on the model and then click on one of the boxes on the corner, I can change the dimensions. So let's say I want this to be 65 instead of 75, and I want this to be 75 instead of what it was. Now that I've made it smaller, it's probably a little bulky, so I can click this middle box to change the height. Let's say I go from 2.5 to 1.5, make it a little thinner. So that's how you can reduce the size or reshape even the existing finger splint. In the next scenario, let's assume that this finger splint is the right shape and size, but we want to add some more firmness or stiffness to the middle. See, right now there's a hole or a slit cut down the middle here. So I'm going to click top again, so I'm looking directly down from the top, click off the shape, and I'm going to click and drag out a cube. I'm going to click this middle black button on the bottom so I can drag out in just one dimension, and I'm going to drag to make it thinner this way. Now, because this is so small, I can't easily see that black button in the middle there, but I can tap the F key on my keyboard and it will zoom in or focus in on that selected shape. So now I can click and drag that middle button to center the two shapes, click off both shapes, then click and drag to select both of them, and then up in the upper right hand corner, I'll click Align, and if I click the center dot, it will align those two shapes from side to side. Now I'll rotate this so I can see it from an angle. If I click on the finger splint itself and then click the height indicator, I can see that the splint is 2.5 millimeters. So I'll click on the new shape, make that 2.5 millimeters and hit enter. Now I can click and drag to select both. And up at the top on the right, I'm going to click the group icon. And so now I've sealed up that slit in the middle. So we now have two customized splints. And then for the third one, click top, focus in. Let's say, for argument's sake, that I'm happy with this splint as is, except I would like to have a large open area here. So to do that, I'm going to click and drag out a cylinder. And if I focus in, you can see that the edges are rough. But if I use this sides slider and move it all the way to the right, you can see that smooths out the curve. Now I'll move this out here, and I'll click to extend that way and this way. Click to extend it up and down. I can select both shapes and choose Align to move it in the middle. You can play around with resizing and moving until you get the desired result. Now I'll look at this from the side again. I don't want to group these shapes as is because I have two solid shapes and I'll just end up with a third solid shape. But any shape that you drag out from the side can be turned into a negative. So if I click on that cylinder, I have two options. It can either be a solid or a hole, a negative. So I'm going to click the hole, and I now have a negative shape. So if I click off both shapes, click and drag to select both of them, and then click group, what happens is it cuts a hole out of the middle. Now that I've finished customizing all my finger splints, I can click export, choose STL, and do that for each one. And when I check my downloads folder, you can see that all three of my customized finger splints are present. Now what you would do is import the finger splints into Prusa Slicer, slice them, export the G-code to a thumb drive, and then plug the thumb drive into the printer and follow the 3D printing procedure.